Hello, I'm Ahron Young and welcome to a special presentation on the Business Channel. Coming up, bumps, bleeps and volatility.
We have to be conscious of the fact that we are a business, we're a commercial operation.
From record highs to economic lows and collapses.
Just devastating.
It was a bad thing to happen, and it didn't need to happen.
The future of second airports.
Facilities and airports such as Airline will become, in their own way, rather recession-proof.
And the new players changing our expectations.
We'd rather exceed people's expectations than try and set an artificially high expectation and then fail to deliver.
100 years ago, Harry Houdini flew Australia's first powered aircraft at Diggers Rest in Victoria, the beginnings of a new industry. A century later, and this year over 110 million passengers will fly with Australia's 4 airlines. Within 2 decades, more than 240 million passengers will take to the sky. They're powerful corporations vital to Australia's economy. But it hasn't been a smooth journey this year. The rising cost of oil and the rising expectations of passengers have sent airlines back to the drawing board on how to somehow remain profitable. So critical is the issue, the federal government's preparing a white paper to find out where the industry is going. We're travelling more than ever. But with changing domestic and global circumstances, the $6.8 billion industry is facing its most turbulent period.
It's very tough. The current environment with fuel price at the levels it currently is, I think makes it tough for a lot of airlines worldwide. Global airline debt this year will reach $200 billion, more than 3 times the total equity in the airline industry. And it's largely to do with oil. Jet fuel bills have jumped by more than 60%. The message is clear at home as investors show they're losing confidence in the airline sector.
There'll be some players with some business models that just won't be able to take a doubling, well, and potentially tripling of 30% of their costs. I mean, and that's something unexpected, something that they can't plan for, something they can't take insurance for.
Qantas is having a difficult time, but they're still profitable this year. They've hedged their fuel and they'll get through.
Most recently, the airlines have cut back on routes and changed flying patterns in a bid to save on fuel costs. That's flowing onto the tourism sector, which needs all the new passengers it can get.
We are conscious to the impact that we have on tourism, but we have to be conscious of the fact that we are a business, we're a commercial operation. We have to make profits. If we can't make profits on various markets, we have to be hard-nosed about it because it does mean that it impacts our ability to acquire aircraft and to grow for the future, and that's not good for the tourism industries if the aviation industry here isn't healthy.
So that demand side's cooling off very quickly. At the same time, they've got these cost pressures that are supposed to have been temporary surcharges, and they're proving to be more permanent and much higher than anticipated.
Then there's the pilot shortage and security at Australia's airports. While Melbourne may be enjoying the success of 2 major airports, the biggest question in aviation right now is whether Sydney will also build a second to help remain competitive.
I think if you look at the experience of London and Paris and so many other cities in Europe, that the low-cost carriers inevitably like to focus on the low-cost airports and secondary airports of capital cities. So it is an important aspect. There's no doubt that secondary airports have a lower cost model than capital city airports, and it's the cost model that these low-cost carriers are only interested in.
While the government seeks advice from community groups, the experts say another airport is vital.
We certainly do need it. And we look at the advantages Melbourne's getting from having Airline and what's happening there, and that's only going to develop and grow in time.
It has worked really well in terms of the competitive dynamic. We've seen Tullamarine Airport be more responsive to the competition at Avalon, because it now truly has a competitor here, very responsive in terms of infrastructure, airport charges, and very responsive in terms of customer service. We think that's great for the travelling public.
A green paper on the aviation sector will be issued in September, outlining the Commonwealth's policy direction for the next 20 years. With 50,000 people employed directly in the aviation sector and more than 100,000 employed indirectly, the government's reform agenda will be closely monitored. The airlines are also closely watching their counterparts across the world, as European and American airlines feel the pressures too. So far this year, more than 6 international carriers have fallen over, and the industry expects there's still more to come. There's a saying in the aviation business, if you want to lose $1 billion, start an airline. It wasn't long ago that experts thought Australia could never accommodate more than 2 profitable airlines. If you remember the collapse of Ansett, Compass, Impulse and Ozjet, you might have agreed, but their demise paved the way for a new business model and a new breed of low-cost carriers which do make a profit. They may be cheap, their terminals may lack the comforts of their full-service counterparts, but when they're aimed at passengers who just want to get to point B, does it really matter? I spoke with Tony Davis, the Group Chief Executive of Tiger Airways.
Well, we think Australia is a very important part of our strategic development of the business. Tiger is already a very well-established Asian airline. We have a very comprehensive network from India through China, Southeast Asia. We fly internationally into Australia, and we're very, very happy with the development so far of our domestic business here in Australia. So we see this as a very important long-term investment. We think that there's a huge market opportunity for a genuine low-fare airline like Tiger in Australia, and early indications are that consumers across the whole country are very eager to snap up the low fares that we've brought into Australia.
So domestically it's going well. What about internationally? You're currently flying out of Perth and out of Darwin. Where will that go? Does Tiger aim to be a major international partner in Australia as well?
Well, we'd certainly like it to be. There are some regulatory issues around that. We do need to get federal government approval for us to fly internationally. And we're hopeful that we'll be able to do that. We'd like to use our Australian-based aircraft and our crews here in Australia to fly some of the international services out of Australia for us. So we're hopeful that as we grow our business domestically, we can also add on some more international flying with our Australian-based aircraft. But it does need the support of the federal government, and we're hopeful that support will be forthcoming.
What about the expectations of those customers? Some people say that flying on some of these airlines is a bit like catching a bus. There are others who've had bad experiences where they feel that the airline doesn't really care. You're paying your $29.95, just get on and get off, and if the flight's cancelled, oh well. What's your philosophy on that?
Well, look, I think we take reliability very seriously, and I think the fact that our first set of figures that we gave to the federal government showed that we didn't cancel a single flight in April. There were over 1,000 flights cancelled in Australia in April. Not a single one of those was a Tiger aircraft.
Businesses such as yourself, Tiger, even Jetstar, if you have a look at their foreign counterparts, Southwest in the United States, Ryanair, your sorts of airlines still need to fly to the larger airports like here at Melbourne Airport. Jetstar, of course, is based at Avalon Airport. Is that a consideration for you, Avalon?
Well, look, we're very happy here at Tullamarine. I think Melbourne Airport have done a great job in combining accessibility for both business models. We've seen the same response from our base in Singapore at Changi Airport, where we have a separate terminal for Tiger Airways to operate our kind of business model, and that takes some of the costs of lounges and air bridges, which are very expensive and mean that we wouldn't be able to offer such attractive fares. So I think the challenge for Australian airports is to accept that there's coexistence. Yes, we can share the runway, but our terminal infrastructure may be different. We have a different requirement to people like Qantas, whose customers are willing to pay extra for those services. We want to offer our customers much lower fares. So I think it's a case of coexistence. There are clearly airports in other parts of the country which could be co-used either with the military or secondary airports that perhaps are not useful to other operators any longer. So I think there is infrastructure available in Australia. It's about creativity and how we use it. And I think Tullamarine has done a great job in accommodating both people like Tiger, who offer very low fares from Terminal 4, and people like Qantas, who charge very high fares out of the main terminal.